Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be making two really quick pages inspired by Dina Wakley, and they're just using mop-up pages in my journal. So you can see here I've got two very messy pages that I've been doing excess spray on. If I had extra paint on the page, I've been chucking that on. A lot of the spray background has been made with the new acrylic gloss sprays from Dina Wakley. So on the left hand side you can see where I painted over that really watery purple and blotted off. I've got that strong yellow coming through, so that's from one of the sprays. As with most of my pages, I really didn't know where this was going or what I was doing with it. I just knew I wanted to play. So I've got some new stencils. The right hand page was quite busy. There was a lot happening on it, so I wanted to calm it down a little bit. Excuse me. So one of the ways I do that is by actually stenciling white over my page. I just find it helps to break up the page a little bit, give your eye somewhere to rest, and just make life a little bit easier, really. So I'm just gluing down one of the new stamped images from Dina Wakley. I have stamped them onto deli paper to then glue onto the page. The reason for that is the texture of the paper in the Dina Wakley journal is not brilliant for stamping on. So by stamping on tissue paper you get a really great definition, and then you can just paste it onto your page. And I could paste that over the middle of my bind if I wanted to, and you've still got a really perfect stamped image. So it makes your stamping so much more flexible in what you're doing. So I'm just adding some colour to my image. I like adding the whites of the eyes and some colour to the eyes. In most figures I do. I also added in some scribble sticks just to add a little pop of colour to the page. And now I'm just going in with my Stabilo oil pencil and redrawing over some of the lines just to make the image pop out of the page a little bit more. The ink that I had used is a permanent ink, but I didn't ink it up brilliantly, so it was a little bit grey on the page. So I just wanted a little bit more black to push that face out of the background. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with this page. At this stage I was playing around with a lot of new products that I had, and I knew I wanted to use them, but I didn't know how. I hadn't really thought ahead. So I'm cutting out some of the text that I've stamped onto tissue paper as well, because while I had the big images I wanted to fill up the rest of the tissue paper with something else. And one of the sayings on one of the stamp sets is "I'm a work in progress," so I decided I'd stick that on. Any sentiments would work, or you could just use alphabets to bring out your own. Just be careful if you've done what I've done. I'd already sketched out around the lips with a Stabilo oil pencil, so I had to be really careful gluing that last word progress down, because if I rubbed too much glue on it, the Stabilo oil pencil would have bled, because it's a water-soluble pencil. The next thing I decided to do was I needed to journal, and I wanted to journal about the phrase that I had on there, "I'm a work in progress." So what I sort of find joy in doing, and what I like creating, and what is bugging me, I just needed to write it all down. So this journaling, however, isn't necessarily very personal, but to be honest, I'm trying to read it as I go along. I can't even remember what I wrote. I should really look into my journal. Oh, I know what I was writing about. At the moment, I'm a primary school teacher, and our schools haven't been closed down, but they kind of have been. So we're in the process of transitioning between teaching face-to-face and teaching online, and a lot of the teachers in my team have never worked online, don't particularly like working online, and they're being dragged into 21st century very abruptly, but they're doing an amazing job, and I was really proud of them. So that's what I was talking about, I think, on that page. So there you go, little sidetrack. So once I'd finished that page with all the journaling on it, I decided I'd go on to the next page, and I got a little bit carried away. I really liked the page at this stage. I loved how by putting the fuchsia over the top of the lemon yellow, I got that really strong resist. But then I started to add stuff to it, and I just didn't do it justice in the end, I don't think. I needed to take my mother's advice and learn how to stop, or learn when to stop. So I'm going in and putting in some white paint, just like I did on the other page. I figured it worked on that page, so it might work on this page, and it kind of has. It's sort of controlled it a little bit. One of the things, just going back to those circles, if you are doing that technique and you've got a spray down below, just make sure one is dry, and two, when you've sprayed something over the top, to actually see the colour from below, you are actually going to have to blot it off, which if you're anything like me, it's like, oh no, I'm wasting spray, but it's the only way you're actually going to see the contrast in colour. So if you leave the spray just sitting on top, it is acrylic paint. When it dries, it's going to dry permanent, even over the top of what you've got underneath. So just be aware of that. So for this page, I again wanted to play with stencils. I really wanted to play with this new one, which was talking about letting your soul shine. I chose to stencil in blue because I wanted a strong contrast from the warm colours in the background. So I've got some analogous colours in the background, colours that sit together on the colour wheel, that pinky purpley, the yellow sort of turning into sort of an orangey colour. Then I've got this contrast with the blue. So I was really excited to use this stencil, which is the face stencil. One of the reasons why is because I have been practicing drawing faces, but if I can stamp a face or I can stencil a face, it saves me time and effort, which is a real cop-out, I realise. But, you know, sometimes you just don't have time, and if you can stencil onto the page, that's great. I'm using a Stabilo Oil pencil just to add in some extra sketchy lines. I didn't do a brilliant job with the hair, I have to say, but, you know, it is what it is. So again, like on the previous page, I am just putting in the whites of the eye. By doing that, I think I spoilt the image, which is funny because usually it makes the image by putting the whites of the eye in. I don't know if I was too heavy-handed or I put them in the wrong place, but they just didn't quite seem right. I also put in some of the blue of the eye, just around the iris, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Looking at it now, I'm wondering if I should go back and wet some of the Stabilo lines and get a little bit more shading on the page and just a little bit more interest to that figure on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, you'll notice I went back to that image because it didn't seem finished to me, and I had these words C cut out, so I added those onto the page, and that actually really finished it off for me. So yeah, those are my two pages playing with new stuff. So I hope you got something out of them and are going to have a go at playing with some new products and seeing what you can do with them. Until next time, bye for now.